One. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sparring Partners. My name is Coby McKinley, and on the other end is Brad Jones, and we have just spent a Saturday night full of soda pops and fun times and fights.
Yes.
And now we're here to bring you not the results, but what we think the fallout will be. In addition to that, we're going to be looking at the unfortunate state of Diego Sanchez, and we'll also be taking a look at next week-ish, and more a question of, is this the worst card in UFC history? I know that question gets tossed around a lot, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, man. So, how did you feel about the lead up to this weekend's fights? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how pumped were you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, well, actually, it's a yes or no. Did it deliver?
Mm-hmm. See, this is the thing, right? So going in, very hyped. Going in, especially the Adesanya Costa fight, that's where most of my hype was at. It's probably an 8 on the 10 hype scale, right? Wasn't that invested in Jan and the light heavyweight title fight. Wasn't as invested in that. Interest in that probably around 5. Now this is the thing, right? Overall, on the coming out on the other side of it, I'm not going to say I was disappointed, but I'm also not going to say that I feel completely satisfied or I don't know. The whole thing, it's being sold us, this destroyer Paulo Costa's just going to, just go out there and wreck him. And of course he didn't do that. He didn't do it. He just stood there and he got neutralized for a round and then knocked out. And Israel looked great. Israel did everything he needed to do. Really great. Good job, Israel. But yeah, Costa, super flat. His stock is low. His stock is low coming out of this.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree that his stock is low, and we'll get into more details on the matchup here in a few minutes. But kind of to zoom out the card overall, did you feel that the card overall was solid? I felt like it had some real bangers. Kai France, Royval was
really good,
awesome fight. Really shows what they are flyweights, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
top
10
flyweights.
Top 10 flyweights. Royval picking up an awesome win there. That was one of the highlights of the prelims. William Knight picking up.
That was on the main card, actually.
That was on the main card. You're right. Because we don't want to go into too much detail on the card overall. Kind of we want to dip into the co-main and the main event. But over, what I will say about the card, really great return to pay-per-view. It was a badass card from start to finish. There was a few. Just like any card, there's going to be low points, but overall the card was super fun. And the co-main and the main event, I liked them a ton.
They delivered something. They definitely delivered something. 2 second-round finishes, impressive, both guys. It gave us something. Maybe not everything that we wanted or were hoping for, but still is good, very good.
Yeah, well, I guess there's really not too much more to discuss before getting into the specifics of them. Let's start with the co-main event. UFC light heavyweight champion on the championship on the line, not an interim, nothing weird. This is the undisputed UFC light heavyweight title on the line between Dominic Reyes, Jan Blachowicz. I think I got that. And it ends in the second round via stoppage, TKO. And now we have our new UFC light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz. that sounds weird to say.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being completely honest, because as we discussed on Fight Night, what was so cool about seeing him win uh, is that he does not check the boxes that you expect a UFC title challenger to check. He just got there by beating the right guys in the right way, to the point where you take John Jones out of the equation and you go, who's left? And we got two guys, super highly touted, Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. They delivered a pretty dang good fight. I know that you and I had discussed earlier today that the outcome of this fight was not that I don't want to take any credit away from Yan, right? Obviously, super skilled. He's the light heavyweight champion of the world. But the way the fight played out and the way the two men fought, it appeared that Dominic Reyes thought he was going to be able to be the more technical of the two guys, because this performance looked nothing like Reyes's last title challenge, in which he tried to turn it into a brawl. And this time he looked to be more calculated. He looked to be more conscious of the fact that it's a 25-minute contest, 5 rounds, and ultimately that didn't pay off for him, because he got clipped. It was a hook of some kind, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and overall, it was not the fight I expected it to be. How do you feel about the fight?
No, it's very similar to the main event. Not what I expected. I feel like Dom's issue was twofold. One, he was, I think, going into the John fight, he's like, John doesn't have the kind of power that's going to, one shot knock me out in his hands. So I don't need to be so respectful of him in the boxing range. Whereas, Jan obviously does. And he's like, I'm not going to just, chill in this boxing range, get really aggressive, leave myself open to getting countered in the way he was when he's fighting against John. So that automatically he's in a new game plan, doing some different stuff, and it was not working. After that first round, it just wasn't working for him. I had Jan win in the first round, and then going into the second, he really needed to adjust, and he just couldn't. He couldn't. By that point, he was struggling to kind of kick into a second gear, and he just got clipped, got cornered, and knocked out. Yeah.
And so when we look at the landscape, a John Jones-free light heavyweight division, a thing that makes me very excited to see as the division moves forward, as the division matures, because a UFC division is very much like a house cat, if you follow my drift, right? You have a house cat, and apparently, according to science, right, that thing stays a kitten in its mind forever, right? But then a feral cats actually grow up. Now, John Jones has been keeping this division locked into this state where it's not like the people just automatically get better. It's just that we're now not constantly comparing every light heavyweight's performance to John Jones.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. So we can actually start to acknowledge these athletes, not based on a comparison, but what they do, what they individually do. The same thing happened at flyweight after DJ left.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can really start to acknowledge the excellence of a bunch of different athletes, even though they're not on skill for skill with possibly the best to ever do it, but they're still world class, and there's still a ton of matchups that I really want to see. So I know that we had spoken about it previous, but who do you think the next title challenger is?
Not John Jones. Don't want to see John back at light heavyweight. Yes, first thing Jan did when he gets on the mic is call it John Jones. Nope, don't do that. John, go to heavyweight. You gotta let this division. The whole reason we did this, you gotta let it grow. Let him be. So, John, he's out. After that, there's only one option. If your third time you booked it, you got Glover, Santos, the winner of that. Especially you got 2 fights to go for Santos. He knocks out Jan.
Can't wait. I can't wait for that fight.
Super sellable rematch. That's the way to go. And then Glover, that's fresh. Glover's old, but hey, he's out here collecting teeth. So go for it.
Yeah, man. Very excited for that Teixeira Santos matchup. And I think really, again, in a John Jones free light heavyweight division, that's really who you go to next. Because if I look down at my computer here, pulling up the rest of the rankings. Now, these have not been updated since the fights, right? This is Friday night's world rankings, right? Diego Santos is number 2. Glover Teixeira is number 4. As of before fight night, Jan Blachowicz was number 3. So he's up there. Reyes probably is going to fall to 3 or 4, and then you have Alexander
Rakic.
Rakic. There we go. They're getting all these. Yeah, Jiri Prochayats, Volkan Oezdemir. Yeah, you have a bunch of guys who are going to find a new lease on life now that a guy who previously defeated them to retain the belt is gone in John Jones. So you have the likes of just going down the list. I mean, you have Glover, which we already discussed, Santos, which we already discussed, and then you have guys like Volkan Oezdemir, Anthony Smith, Nikita Krylov. After you get past number 5, even by current non-JBJ light heavyweight division standards, it's not the strongest 6 through 10.
Which is why I'll do you one better. I will give you the next 2 challengers for the light heavyweight belt. The winner of Santos and Glover. And then after that, the winner of the still to be made but definitely should be made fight of Rakic versus Rumble Johnson. Rumble Johnson in January is back. That man walks directly into a number 1 contender fight, and he should fight a top 5 guy. So Rakic's coming off a wonderful win, so go for it.
He's definitely going. I would love to see. Rumble fight Prochayats.
That'd be great too.
That would be incredible because
any one of these. Rumble just being back in general, excellent. Rumble will be Rumble champion 2021, son. He's coming for it.
Dang, man, he's got he's coming for it in 2021.
He's coming for it. That's all I'm saying. He's coming for it.
Yeah.
There's a rare opportunity here at light heavyweight where a lot of these guys, right, they were stifled by John this whole time. They've gotten really old, and now they're old. And they're getting towards the end of their career. They can sneakily get this belt and kind of pass it around like at least once at the end of their careers. Like Jan's an old guy, 36. Glover, old, totally could get the belt. He's up there. Gustafsson, I mean, he just got mauled up at heavyweight, but he really doesn't have anything going on. He can go back down to light heavyweight, still be a top 5 guy. I mean, he could slip in there, There's a lot of options for some of these older dudes.
Yeah, and that is the trend. Each division, as you go up in weight, kind of gets older. And light heavyweight really has found itself in this position where, for a while, it was desperate for new blood. Desperate. And now you do have a lot of new blood, but they're not they're not battle tested quite yet. I know we spoke last week about how the performance of Johnny Walker did not inspire any new feelings about his prospects in the light heavyweight top 10. Kind of what we expected of him as far as his skill set and what he does and what he does well. It's still there. It didn't get worse, but there's no new wrinkles to the game. And
but
I feel like
you never know. That could be enough now. That could be enough now.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Well, no, I don't think that's enough. No, actually, I won't give you that because the level of competition I saw in Reyes Blachowicz definitely eclipses what Johnny Walker currently brings to the table outside of again,
some flashy flash.
But again, it kind of where do you separate the fighter's actual skill level, because that's Johnny Walker's game.
Yeah,
is catching you in a flash. So you know, who knows? It could be in a few fights we could be looking down the barrel of a title fight for that guy.
Why don't?
Yeah. So I'm more than anything, like I said already, I'm just excited to see this division kind of get recognized on its own merits. The athletes in the division getting recognized on their own merits. And yeah, that tweet afterwards from John was really like, come on, man, get out of here.
Go on, you left already.
Yeah, you did it.
Stay away.
It's not good. It's that double-edged sword of a dominant champion, man. It's great. It's great for the sport because you get a superstar, but it's horrible for the division that athlete is in.
John goes back and fights Jan for a 200,000 pay-per-view buy event. He beats him. We're right back where we were before. What are we doing?
Yeah,
the division's smothered again. Just come on, we're past it now.
Yeah, and that's one thing I don't think a lot of. Far be it for me to say, but I mean, you know, one thing that was so admirable about if we're talking, you know. John is in the GOAT discussion, and we look to another GOAT at GSP, where he wanted new accomplishments, defending the belt over and over and over and over, and not even doing so. Like for John, what's confusing about this is like it wouldn't be even a consecutive defense. It wouldn't be. It just would mean so little. It just wouldn't mean anything. And when I mean he I'll put it this way: he's risking way more than he would gain by that fight. Yeah, man, that's a horrible idea. I hope the UFC is not listening to it, and I hope that no way. There's no way that they would entertain that. I think that we've nailed it. Unless something weird happens, we're gonna be looking at Jan Blachowicz versus either Thiago Santos or Glover Teixeira.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got a crazy cat. That just
I understand how that goes.
Sprinted into the room, and she's not destroying blinds, so we're in good shape. Okay, yeah. So I feel like we're at a good point to move on to the main event of UFC 253, where Israel Adesanya defeated Paulo Costa via second round TKO, just like the Coby event. Get that for the old. Get out of here. These cats, man. Dude. They're freaking vermin in my home. They're little rodents. Anyway, Adesanya defeats Paulo Costa in the second round via TKO in a fight that was perplexing. It was not the fight that we expected to see. and it was kind of expected. If you were to sit down and say, what's the most likely way this fight's going to go, and it was the bull charging forward and all that. But if you were to sit back and say, what is the most common unexpected way this could go? And it was what we saw. It was Paulo Costa sitting back, keeping the fight slower, and kind of like you and I alluded to earlier today, really conscious of a 25-minute fight.
That's it. If you're a hardcore, right, so coming into this, right, Costa's had, what, 4, 5 fights in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
Only 13-0, still very early in his career, had 1 fight in the top 10, right? It was a 3-round fight, hadn't had any 5-round main event scheduled, had never been 5 rounds, had never seen a 4th and a 5th round before, but was coming off of having to go 3 hard rounds. And I think coming into this, Costa was like, man, I do not want to get gassed out and exhausted and tired before we get to the 4th and the 5th, right? So I think in his mind, he's thinking, all right, I go in there, I kind of Yoel for the first round, just take it easy, save my energy, just kind of do our thing, and then I'll start to pick it up as fight goes on. Bad idea. Izzy's not playing that, because Izzy's like, oh, cool, you're going to do that? Well, I'm just going to sit here and chop your legs and jab you and chop your legs again for 5 rounds. And then by the time that first round's over, you are immobile. You even if you decide, all right, it's too late now, I need to start blitzing at the guy, I need to start throwing some heavy lever. Oh, it's too bad. Your legs are all chopped up now, and you can't move like you normally move. And so it was already too late. So then he comes out for round 2. Not that he really tried to blitz, but he could have. And no, he was already chopped up at that point. He was ready for the taking. Izzy popped him off and finished him.
Yeah, man, it was a bizarre tactic. It's an understandable tactic, but it's bizarre in that could not. Whoever is his strategist, whoever is his head coach, or who helps him with his strategy, that's a horrible strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's one where, I mean, cliches and stereotypes, like it's a cliche of fighting, right? Mm-hmm. You
dance with
box
the one that brought you.
Well, dance with the one that brought you, but also you box a brawler, you brawl a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't boxing, but it's still fighting, and so you have a guy in Adesanya who's a consummate sniper. That's what he does. He is the boxer of that equation. Paulo Costa's whole game, no matter who he's fought so far, has been to brawl, has been to move forward aggressively. And for, we don't know what his coaches were telling him to do. We don't know what his game plan was. We think we know what his game plan was because we saw him fight, but we don't know if he actually executed. We don't know if he executed the plan that he had set. He had put down in order to defeat Adesanya.
Yeah.
If his plan was to sit back until the later rounds, that's a horrible plan. I mean, it's like, I don't know how else to put it. It's a horrible plan. His whole style relies on explosiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to, and even if you're being reserved in a bout, you're going to get more tired round to round. So what you're saying is, I'm going to not explode in the first round when I have all my energy at all.
Yeah.
Only until I've been reduced by like 25% that I'm going to then go all out. That's horrible. It's such a horrible strategy that I cannot imagine. I have to assume that Paulo Costa did not execute his game plan, which was to be a marauder.
go after him. It's also possible.
It's when I thought about it, I was thinking about it like that on my drive back home, and I was like, dude, there's no way that was a game plan. It's not possible. I can't let myself believe that someone who gets paid to come up with strategies for fights decided that that's the one they wanted to go with. So all I'm saying is, Paulo Costa is probably going to be haunted by this for a while.
I think his stock drops unquestionably after this.
His stock drops, but he has a narrative. He does have a narrative. I never showed up. That wasn't me. I never showed up to fight. Adesanya, yeah, he stopped, but that was not. I mean, hey, we've seen it before. We'll see it again.
Yeah.
Maybe he had a toe injury. Maybe his ankle was fucked up. Maybe he couldn't do as much conditioning. There's all sorts of narratives he can. Okay. There's all sorts of narratives he can get going in order to eventually find himself back. And it only takes. Paulo Costa is he is the look of a marketable fighter. Like
you're right.
He could not speak. He could never speak. Just do what he does in the octagon and show up to weigh-ins, and they would rush him towards something big. Yeah. So I don't feel like we're more than a couple wins away from another fight. Maybe 3 max. Because again, I'm gonna look down here to the rankings. We have Whitaker, Cannonier. Paulo Costa was number 2 coming into fight night. We have Hermanson, Romero, Till, and that's the top 6.
See, the middleweight rankings are much more interesting. There's a lot more to work with there. There's some. Israel's knocked out quite a lot of the top 15 guys on his way up. Now he's taken out about half of them already, but there's still a lot of interesting stuff to work with there.
Yeah.
Are we moving into predictions now? Because that seems like a pretty good segue. Because
go on. I mean, I think that we have a very, very big. We have a very important fight at middleweight coming up with Cannonier and Whitaker, right? That's huge. Has title ramifications. Whitaker is coming off a win. He's trying to get back on track to get back to a fight with Adesanya, which again is super marketable. He also has a narrative. He was overwhelmed. He was burnt out at the time they fought. He has a way to negotiate as far as getting the public on his side, to get people to be like, you know what? I think, we should see it again. He has a narrative. Jared Cannonier also has a narrative in that he is big, he hits hard, and he's the dark horse of the division. He is the boogeyman.
He's a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight that's now fighting at middleweight. It's crazy.
He's the boogeyman of middleweight. He hits so hard. I love watching the dude fight. His fights sneak up on me though. Pretty much every time I see, and that's kind of why he's so scary. It's like this is the first fight I think where I've really been like, oh, Jared Cannonier's fighting. So what do you think? What do you think happens with the title picture next? Who is Adesanya across the cage from next?
Boom, son, it's a lock. All right, if Cannonier beats Whitaker impressively, probably not even impressively, it's him. Izzy's already spotted him out. That's the guy. You do Izzy versus Cannonier. So if Whitaker wins, I don't think there is so much of a rush to book the Whitaker rematch. So you wait another month. They do the Till versus Hermanson fight. You see what's going on with that. Because Hermanson coming out of that with another impressive submission, perhaps, on a roll, got 2. That's an interesting style matchup for Izzy. We haven't had him against an elite submission guy. And even Till, interesting striking. You know, if he had something impressive knockout, him and Israel go back and forth all the time. I think that plays a big role too. When the champ is calling the guy, you know, he's the guy. He calls the shots. So if he's calling the contenders out, then that's the one that's going to get picked.
Yeah, that's a really big change of pace. Something I really like, and I wish more champions would adopt.
Yeah.
Is not. Yeah, I think a lot of champions, especially champions of the past, have felt is like it's not my job to call people out anymore. People need to call me out.
Yeah.
But I think that's not a way to steer a career.
Yeah, you gotta make it interesting.
And you gotta make it interesting. Yeah, that's one of the most refreshing things about Adesanya as a title holder is the fact that that's what he wants to do. He wants to test himself in different ways. He wants to prove different points by fighting specific guys. Something I really love to see is a motivated champion, and that I think is the surest sign of a motivated champion. Someone who feels like they are involved in writing their own legacy, and that's what Adesanya is doing by calling out these contenders. But yeah, man, is there anything else you would like to say on the middleweight division, 253 as a whole? What are your closing thoughts on UFC 253?
I don't want to see Diego Sanchez fight anymore.
That is a major thing out of 253. I can't believe it about slipped away, but yeah, you're right. Diego Sanchez should not
slips away, but that's like,
it's yeah, let's just talk about that for a second. We got the time, right? Diego Sanchez, man, he looked ill. He looked not good. He looked not like a professional athlete. He looked not like Diego Sanchez. I said it as we were watching the fight. So hold on, I'll just introduce it real quick. Diego Sanchez loses a 30-26 unanimous decision to Jake Matthews. That's what happened. On paper, that's what happened. But what I saw in the cage was a guy who's not as talented anymore, who also doesn't look to be training at the same capacity anymore.
No, not even close.
Yeah, man. I said to you while we were watching the fight, I said, oh my God, I have never seen Diego Sanchez tired before. He looked tired. He looked unhealthy to be competing in a professional cage bout in the shape he was in. It was not necessarily hard to watch because not a knock. I mean, it is, I guess, a knock on Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is not known as the most effective guy, really, most places. So we didn't see Sanchez take a huge amount of damage, and that ultimately is probably the worst thing that could have happened to him long term.
It's just another BJ situation. I mean, he's just around. He's just here, and I'm like, what do we do? He's not winning. You know, he's not getting blasted out. But I'm like, you're not beating anybody. Or what is the best case scenario for him sticking around?
There is no best case scenario.
There's nothing.
No, like I said on Fight Night, the best case scenario for his long term health is that he gets starched by his opponent in, the shortest stoppage of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just get clipped, get knocked out very fast, and then maybe, well, it's Diego Sanchez, but the hope would be that the chatter of, man, I don't think this guy should do this anymore, starts to really sink in. Because the unfortunate thing about Diego Sanchez is I believe he is 2-3 in his last 5. So
I mean, just not that long ago, he's wrestling. He's out wrestling Mickey Gall just like within the past 2 years, and it's just like, man, ever since he got with this self-help guru, it's been a wrap, son. It's just been all downhill.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's sad to watch. It's sad to watch because not only do I feel like we're watching the physical decline of Diego Sanchez, we're also witnessing uh, a guy who is already kind of far out.
Mm.
I feel like I'm watching him get I'm watching him crumble, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
he does not in his interviews, in just the people that surround him, he he doesn't seem to be in a great place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to watch in a different in a different way than like the decline of a Chuck Liddell or BJ Penn, where athletically, yeah, they're not what they used to be, but more or less they are the same guys. Diego Sanchez sounds punch drunk. Diego Sanchez sounds out of it, and just kind of out of touch with his situation. That's
Yeah.
how I put it. Not out of touch with reality, but like, man, you're working with a guy who claims to be an energy healer
Mm-hmm.
of some sort, and he's teaching you. He's your coach.
He's
Um,
clearly not teaching you anything about fighting or how
yeah,
to
man.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to see? Nothing. Nothing out of Diego Sanchez. Like, or do you think that if the UFC cuts him, he gets signed by bare knuckle, or like, is it that what I'm trying to ask is the UFC the healthiest place for him to be? Because he's
It's
going to be somewhere.
But
He
it's
is.
like it's not their responsibility.
No, you're right.
It's to the point now where it's irresponsible for the UFC to keep offering him fights in the UFC, so they need to cut him. Now, after they cut him, I fully believe that he immediately runs to that's what sucks the worst. Not even Bellator. He's going to run
Yeah,
to bare knuckle, which is going to be the worst place for him. But for whatever
horrible.
reason, that's where he'll end up. We know it. I don't know why, but that's where he's going to go to make the
It's
most
not,
money. But it's like
dude.
at that point, dude, it's on you. You're the one that did that. The UFC didn't make you go over there, but like, it's a rough end of the road for Diego Sanchez, man.
Yeah, man. Bare knuckle is the island of misfit toys, man. I mean, that's when you wash out of MMA, you go to
You're
bare
gonna get
knuckle.
brutalized
Yeah,
in
you
bare
get
knuckle.
brutalized. You get cut. Yeah, yeah, maybe
Both
I,
hardcore MMA fans and have been for like 15 years
yeah, and I just can't.
don't like bare knuckle. No,
No, because it's not. It's
it's
horrible.
not.
It's
It's
the
not.
skill. Yeah, that is. That's it. That's it. It's not. That's it.
Mm,
It's the fact that there is no world renowned bare knuckle boxer. It is formerly great athletes from
it's
other
just,
sports
just some
come
people.
in and box each other with no gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
It it's just, I mean, the production is high. They clearly have money behind it. Um, I've never met someone who's bought a pay per view of theirs. I don't know who. I don't know who is like. What's their market? Are there legit fans of bare knuckle? Because I've never met.
Somewhere there's like six. But I don't know.
Is it like a regional MMA scene where like the crowd is
Maybe.
made up of friends and family of all the competitors?
Yeah, that definitely plays
Yeah,
a role.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? That's that on Diego Sanchez. I
Yeah,
don't know how
that's
to
enough Diego
segue out
talk.
of Diego Sanchez. It's
We're just done with
depressing.
it. Yeah.
He's going to end up in bare knuckle FC at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God, the best case scenario for him is that he goes to like submission underground or some professional grappling thing, but that it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, yeah. So let's look forward. A little bit. And we don't have to look too far forward for this. I don't have the date pulled up in front of me or down there. But to venture outside of MMA and kind of next to bare knuckle FC, we have McGregor taking on Manny Pacquiao in a boxing event in the Middle East, where it's either going to take place over the course of the entire Middle East, or they're keeping it a secret. I'm not sure. They're going to box their way all across.
The whole Middle East.
Yeah, the whole Middle East. They're going to do one round per square 100 miles or whatever. 100 miles is big, but yeah. So anyway, McGregor's taking on Manny Pacquiao. What are your thoughts on this?
I could not be more uninterested.
Okay.
Conor and a big boxing match against Floyd. It's something wild and new, and it's got all it's just something crazy. It's wild. We've never done anything like it before. Well, we did it. It happened. Doing it again, but with Manny Pacquiao, and now maybe they'll have a crowd, but it's not going to be like a non-corona time. And I'm just like, I don't get anything out of that. I get nothing out of Conor. Okay, what happens if Conor loses? Nothing. They made some money and we're right back where we were. Oh, what happens if he wins? Nothing. He made money and we're right where we were. I want to see him fight in MMA. That's just what he does. He's an MMA fighter. I want to see him fight in MMA. Going to steal everyone's money to go box Manny Pacquiao does nothing for anyone except you and Manny Pacquiao. And I don't think that it even sells as well. I mean, it'll sell well, but it's not selling Floyd car levels.
No, because the buildup isn't going to be as insane. Yeah, I feel very similarly. It's a thing where, and this one, I'll say this one feels different. This one feels different than my issue with Floyd and McGregor was that we've been fans for a very long time, and the constant there's always been this weird antagonism, but also a need for approval from boxing, And my problem with McGregor and Floyd was that it felt like MMA trying to become validated. Whereas this one, to me, just feels like McGregor wants to box now. That's it. I mean, it
feels so cash grabbish.
It clearly is.
It is, but it's like whatever.
And from the tweets we saw from not the tweets, but the DMs that McGregor released.
When he broke the man code.
Yeah, when he broke the man code and released the messages between he and Dana, I think that was his way of telling the community, hey man, it's not me. I don't want to look outside MMA to get a fight. I want to fight. Plain and simple.
He's made that pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's not me. I just want to fight. I want to compete. And it's not on me that I'm not doing in MMA. It's on them. And that's also why I feel a little bit different about this one as well, because I do feel like whereas it is cash grabby for sure. It's going to make both of them a lot of money. But at the same time, it feels more to me like a genuine attempt by Conor just to compete, man. Like just to fight. Like this is what I got to do to compete.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Clearly, as we've seen from McGregor and so many great fighters before him. I think he knows that he's on his best behavior, and we know that behavior is a problem with him. He's in his best behavior when he's got a fight coming up. That's it. That's where he stays on the most straight and narrow, and that's where he seems to be happiest.
Just in camp, train.
So that's the thing. I'm not necessarily excited for it. I'm not counting down the days, but am I going to watch it? Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it. And the boxing heads, they're going to tell you like, nah, you don't even need to tune in. There's just not a chance in hell. It's going to be a shutout for Pacquiao. There's just no chance McGregor could win. It's like, hey man, I've probably tuned in and been excited to watch fights with worse odds for one of the men. So that doesn't really affect me too much. I'll just watch it because I want to see McGregor compete, and
it's a spectacle.
It's a spectacle. It'll be fun. Hopefully no one gets violently KO'd. That's kind of what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Is that
is where it gets detrimental to one.
Floyd is a defensive king, but as far as offense and power, Pacquiao is completely different. It's a different thing. Overall, it got announced this week. I thought it was fake, honestly, the first time I saw it. And we when that shows up and they set down the ring wherever it's going to take place in the Middle East, I'll tune in. I'll tune in.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be in the Middle East, but I will be.
You never know.
Yeah, you're right.
Never blowing up by then.
Yeah,
we got press credentials and everything.
Yeah, to go to the Middle East. Famed locale, the Middle East. So, and I think the last topic of discussion here, and it's, if I can level with the audience for a second, not going to be a long one, is next week's fight card. UFC on ESPN, Holm versus Aldana. Now, Brad, when I first pulled this up on Google, to quote myself, I said, no way is this fight bout, like the bout order official. There's just no way. Unfortunately, there is a way because it is official. This is the fight order. We have Holly Holm in the main event and Irene Aldana in the main in along with her in the main event. All right. That's not a bad fight. It's
probably your number one contender fight at 135.
I'm not against that fight.
It just is.
It just is what it is. It's got to happen. It's the gears that keep the women's 35-pound division alive. In the co-main event, we have Jorgen De Castro versus Carlos Felipe.
Right, those guys.
Who I watch every card. We watch every card. I don't know who they are.
Either one of those guys. Can't even tell you the weight class.
The third, it's heavyweight. In the third fight, we have Jermaine Durandamy versus Juliana Pena. That fight, I'm actually kind of excited to see that fight. I think that's a really interesting stylistic matchup because Jermaine Durandamy is clearly the woman who, obviously, other than Nunez's losses, GDR has been the most successful of the challengers. Made Nunez totally change the way that she fought and look for takedowns and whatnot. And in Juliana Pena, she's really we're really going to see how much she's improved in that aspect, right? Juliana Pena is going to hunt the takedown. She's gonna look to implement that part of the game. So I think if GDR can stuff these takedowns, unlike her performance against Nunez, I think she's on I mean, just like every women's division, if you are a high-level competitor and you fix a few things, you're on the short list. You're in.
Yep.
Like you're not next per se, but you're
you were there.
next after that.
Yep.
I mean, it's and then we have to round out the main card, just to cover our bases. We have Roman Kopylov, Tom Breeze. That should be fun. I mean,
Sure.
if nothing else, it'll be a good time. And then we have Daquan Townsend and Dusko Todorovic.
Dusko.
He's my guy.
Dusko?
I'm going with him.
I gotta go with Dusko.
You got to go with Dusko.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hope he's a knockout artist.
Well, this one's gonna be real easy. I don't give a shit about this card.
Yeah, no. But the one thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that Carlos Condit's on the card.
Yes, buried deep in the prelims is the only fight that I care about on this card, and it's two decrepit old men that Condit hasn't. Condit has lost like 7 fights in a row, and I still love him to death. And that's the only fight I care about on this entire card. Is beloved.
Got old all of a sudden.
He's ancient.
He's
How old
35.
is he? Yes, he's an old man.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long time.
And that isn't even that's not even the featured prelim. Like Carlos Condit isn't even in the featured prelim.
I get why, but at the same time, I'm like, there's no one else there. They could be co-main event. He was at one point in time the uncrowned welterweight king when he rightfully beat Robbie Lawler and was screwed in a split decision. Man. Yeah,
so that fight should be really fun.
Hopefully. Or Condit gets submitted.
I'm a huge no, not Court McGee. No.
Condit has non-existent takedown defense. He has had his entire career, and he, for whatever reason, just gets submitted all the time in the past 5 years.
I think that let's just brush past the main event, the co-main event, and then the other 3 cards on the main card. Also skip past the featured prelim and go to this to break down how we think it'll go. I think that it will be a largely lackluster unanimous decision win for Court McGee. Just how I feel about it.
That's probably the best we can hope for, to be quite honest. I don't like seeing Condit just get choked repeatedly.
I mean, that's
another guy where it's like
he
was like at the time, and then it's just like when he started going downhill, it's been nonstop.
It's been
rough. Here's the real question: if Condit, at what point do they cut him? I'd say
no.
How many has he lost in a row?
It is
a lot, 6 or 7, right?
No.
6?
It's like 5, I think. He has lost.
Where's the line?
Huh?
Where's the line? You think before they're like, all right, dog?
I don't know. Maybe they cut him. They might. They've been cutting people lately.
He's a guy I could see going to Bellator. I could totally see Carlos Condit in Bellator.
I just don't. Honestly, I just am not sure his body's holding up, man.
That's the thing. He keeps taking these extended breaks, but then after like a year and a half, he comes back and takes a fight, looks bad, gets submitted. I'm like, fuck, he wants to do it, and he keeps coming back. He's still relatively, I mean, he is old, but like for how long he was doing it, he's still kind of young in the game, mid-30s.
See, and these are the kind of matchups I really would like to see more of. Is guys who are similarly aged, especially once you get past 35.
I've got it.
What?
You Dan Hardy. Let's go. The Dan Hardy rematch. Dan Hardy versus
Oh my
Carlos
God.
Condit 2. Let's do it.
Yeah, you got to, man.
This
You've
whole
got
time,
to.
Hardy's been like, man, the only two guys I really want are like Pettis and Cerrone because they're old and they're washed out. I got another old washed out welterweight for you, son. That's it, man.
I'm so
you got
down.
a rematch? Oh, yeah.
I'm so down for that.
Book that immediately.
Yeah,
Shouts
let's
out
get it.
Sean Shelby. Let's make it happen. Just
Dude,
give me a producer
please.
credit.
Yeah, I just unfortunately he's probably not going to win on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. Court McGee has made a career out of making people look bad. He just is so durable. It takes an unreasonable amount of power to put Court McGee away. It's been done. It hasn't been done often. It takes an unreasonable amount of skill on the floor to submit Court McGee. I actually am not sure that's been done, but it may have. I would have to look. I'm not going to, but
I don't care enough.
I mean, it's the fourth fight in on Saturday.
It's the most intriguing.
It's the most intriguing fight to me, and it's on the prelims. So I guess my fight night ends at what? We can guess about 5:45 or whatever. So just whatever.
Give me a short one.
No, I'll definitely watch Saturday, but oh man, I just the drop in. This is the thing. I've never liked to be one that complains about the quality of a card because you don't know what the quality of a card is until you see it. But as far as on paper name value, this is up there. This genuinely is up there with one of the worst on paper I've ever seen.
They've had to do this a lot recently where they'll stack, some nice pay-per-views. We got the Izzy and then we got the Khabib one coming up. But in between, they'll hit you with the Jessica I in your main event kind of cards where it's just like, God, I get it, guys. But you're just, filling a spot in the schedule.
That's the thing is I wonder how much of the roster is still unavailable.
I mean, there's some guys like Leon Edwards. There are guys that are super relevant that have still not fought in all this. Stephen Thompson, absent this entire big name people that are really relevant in their divisions, champions that have still not come back and fought throughout this whole time.
Man, well, that's Saturday's card, and we'll talk about Saturday's card next week. But yeah, man, I think that about covers it. I think we got it. How do you want to? Do you have any closing thoughts?
Nope. Week 2 in the books. It's a wrap.
Week two.
It's down,
man.
son.
I would really like to do some form of email the show or ask questions or whatever.
Like and subscribe. Comment below. Let us know.
Let us right.
But no, for real. Hey, if anybody leaves a comment on the YouTube video, we might respond to it. We might even throw it up on the screen. We can get into that. Some interaction with our adoring fans.
If you guys are watching this on the old YouTube, and you have a question for next week, throw it down in the comments section. We also have an email, sparringpartnerspodcast@gmail.com. You can email us there if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and we will probably talk about them next week. So, it's been a good one. It's been a real one, and
it's been a beautiful ride.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, Brad, you have a good rest of the night. And
later, brother.
Audience, we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Have a great next week, and we'll see you Monday.
Peace.